Germs, presidential candidate Delatorre here again. Today what I'm going to talk to you about is one of the campaign platforms that I want to run on and been running on up until this time. It's kind of hard to be able to allot time to be able to make videos and content for my YouTube channel, and so everybody can get a grip onto what it is that I'm offering as president. So today we're going to talk about the agro-filter power plant. What does it do? Well, let me tell you what. First off, it produces a viable, economical, virtually inexhaustible source of electricity on a fuel source that people just have neglected. It's all around inexhaustible. So first off, we're in a bunch of crises in our nation and we need to resolve them. And the people that are in charge right now don't have the creativity or the accumulated knowledge to be able to do that. Career politicians don't know anything except for how to get reelected. And they're pretty good at it. You guys have been falling for the rhetoric for quite some time. So, what will the agro-filter power plant do besides produce so much electricity? It's ludicrous, basically. First off, it is a pathway to end the homelessness issue. And along with that, the drug problem in the homelessness communities across, I would say, whatever states are local and maybe the surrounding states to wherever the power plant will be built. Beginning, it's going to be a major metropolis-size facility that does pretty much a unilateral restoration, or I would say rehabilitation of the actual people that are suffering homelessness and that are, not making enough money or barely getting by from check to check. We should change all of that. The Commonwealth in America has been devastated by this administration and by pretty much career politicians who are so out of touch. It's amazing how many of them are stinking filthy rich, but yet they only make maybe $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, but they got 16 million, 18 million, 100 million. It's out of this world. It's out of this world. There's so much corruption. Back to the power plant. Another thing that it'll do is, as far as the workforce, we understand that there's a major gap in the workforce as far as people who are willing to go to work or want to work. Recently, over 7 million people checked out of the free-range slavery market, which would be, you go into work and getting a job and money forcibly taken from your check that you have to actually pay even more on at the end of the year in some cases. That's free-range slavery, guys. But what the workforce needs is for people to be able to earn enough money to be able to survive, whether they're in the workforce as free-range slaves or not. I would say everybody's goal should be to try to find out what you'd like to do in life and then create that into a business and, if possible, earn a living off of it. Then you would have a lot less taxes, if any at all. But let's go back to it. This facility has to be built. Who's going to build it? The homeless community will be there to staff labor, administration, that kind of stuff, because believe it or not, out there are people who have dynamic knowledge and skills and ability. They just don't have stability in order to exercise those skills and abilities. We really need to get them people active and back doing something, and this will give them something to be distracted from so they won't be doing all kinds of drugs. They'll have something to occupy their time, and even if they do, they would do it off, the clock, and, as long as they can function like a lot of functioning drug users out there can do, they would eventually wean themselves off. And at the same time, the facility would have, place for them to stay, to have medical, to rehab, some, dental, get them back, used to living indoors. Pretty much being homeless outside in the streets with nothing. And if you knew the struggle of that alone, you would understand that it creates a feral human being. So we have a feral human race of homeless people that are just wandering around. We need to get rid of that. So if they have a place to work, a place to get off of drugs at their own pace. Cold turkey is the worst thing you can ever do. I think you're seeing that right now with the fossil fuels. Trying to go cold turkey has pretty much annihilated the country, separated everybody, people who have knowledge, people who don't have knowledge, people who think that they have knowledge. Everybody's fighting over this, and it's such an easy thing to fix. So the workforce, what would happen would be that these homeless would be exposed to tradesmen, carpenters, millwrights, welders, concrete layers, all aspects, and then they would have the ability to rehab, be at work, learn skills, on the job training type of thing, get a charter school type of a situation where they can advance, because unions have charter schools. They could put a scholastic arena in the area where they can, give people the orientation, construction basics, and that would revitalize the union, because it would bring in more people who would learn skills and then be able to go back to wherever they want to go to, their state that they came from or another one, and use those skills to survive over there, learn how to pay bills, learn how to live indoors again, get them some food in their belly and some medical treatment, and then these people would rehab. That's rehabbing our society, you see. That's improving the commonwealth of our country. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, when it comes to what the agricultural power plant's going to do. Now, we do need the workforce to improve, but when you have done what you've done to it by taxing it to the point where people are just barely making it check to check, most of people who are actually living indoors are really close to not. So despondency causes people to want to numb the pain, and that leads to drugs. So if people lose their home, the next thing is they start using drugs in most cases to numb the pain. And, well, if they don't have a job and nothing else to do, and they ain't going to get a place, why not? And, get your mind off it. And so there's so many people dying off it and doing it. Drugs are a positive and a negative, all in the same. So the energy crisis, this would be resolved by the power facility as well, because it will create electricity not only for use but for storage and delivery. I have a master plan on how to resolve the EV problem as far as the infrastructure of being able to recharge them when they travel cross country or whatever. And it's such a simple fix. I don't know why people just don't think outside the box. Okay, fixing the problem with the infrastructure for these cars is going to be resolved with the agricultural power plant. And I'll tell you how later, not right now. At this moment, I'm just going over some of the topics. And this, like I said, there's many. And I don't want this video to be too long because people have very short attention spans. So what we also want to do is, revitalize the terraformed environment. People are so worried about climate change. Well, God dang it. I live up here in Portland, Oregon. The climate changes 4 times a year. It gets wintry and cold and windy and rainy, and then it gets freezy and icy, and then, and turns back into wintry, rainy, and coldy, and then hot and muggy, and then it turns into hot, and then it gets back the other direction. You people are overdoing it. But in that, also, a lot of the things that were the problem with the climate issue have been resolved. You just don't know it. The politicians and the propaganda machine is really twisting your nuts, and tightening the bolts. So what will happen is the people who are in this agri-filtered power plant that come from the homelessness arena as well need to revitalize their human battery. So my idea would be that 1 week out of the month, as they work in their charter school and in their trade of which they choose, or just to work for the facility, they can stay there and help the processes and all the functionings of the daily necessities of the power plant. But they would have to go out and, now listen to this, it's not a brainstorm, it's not a genius idea, it should just make sense. Once a week, take them out into the forest, the national forests and wherever else, and have them do land restoration. Clean the rivers, plant trees, improve the wildlife, not damage it, not cut it down, not pollute it. Have them get out there and they'll be exposed to fresh air. They'll, be in an environment where they can create camaraderie and, get away from, the machine, the glass, the electricity, the steel, the metal, the concrete, all the everything that has, pretty much grinded away the humanity out of us animals, because we are actual organic creatures as well as apex predators of the entire planet. So we want to revitalize the environment, and also in the agri-filtered power plant there will be an ecosystem that would be created, because what it's also going to do, we'll get back into that later on, but it's going to also take seawater and purify it, well, distill it, so to speak, more so distilled than purified, but there's a way to turn it back into potable drinking water down the line. I'll explain that even more with an ecosystem where the distilled water runs off into a wetland area that's created, so that also, again, the people in the power plant can get away from it over to someplace where they can revitalize and regenerate their human battery. So that would be another one of the things. And this is also what we want to do is terraform our planet back into the beautiful thing that it was with the plants and the animals. And when you have a wetland, you have animals that come, and then the plants come, and it's just the natural process. If you know anything about, the ecological growth of the environment itself on a natural basis. I speak so many languages, sometimes it's hard for me to find the right word. I apologize. So we're going to do that. So the efficiency, as far as landfills and pollution and waste, and I'm talking the broad perspective, I'm pretty sure that I've figured out how to make nuclear waste inert, but we'll have to do a little bit of R&D on that to make sure. I think I got that fixed so we wouldn't have to really worry about so much the nuclear waste, and that would enable us to have nuclear power on a better level, a cleaner level, but more so to be used to offset the fossil fuels. What we want to do is we want to wean ourselves off those fossil fuels, so that fossil fuel crisis isn't a crisis. There's so much fossil fuels, it's ridiculous. That's why we use them all. That's why it's so first line when it comes to every aspect, for heat, for energy, for electricity. It produces it all. And the Green New Deal and all the ways that they've been trying to do it is starting to collapse really bad. If you knew about the waste that is created by, the wind turbine blades that have to be replaced because the environment really beats them down, those things sometimes collapse and fall because they're not serviced and maintained right. The whole pylon rusts out or it becomes unstable. They fall over. They're dangerous. Entire solar panel fields to generate electricity wiped out by nature. Recently there was a hailstorm in Texas. Gonzo. They're going to, be replacing that with another $1 billion. Where how does that save electricity? How does that save, for the Commonwealth? How does that save anything? It doesn't save the environment, nothing. Now you got, 15 million tons of broken solar panels out in the middle of, a field that probably used to have trees and animals and wildlife and stuff, and, producing oxygen for us to breathe. Those plants, trees, ladies and germs, that's how we get our oxygen. That's where we breathe. That is our environment. But they're destroying that. I'll get rid of that. Chop that down. Let's put up some panels so we don't have to use fossil fuels. You guys are going around in circles. We need to stop that. It's ridiculous. Okay, so with that, improving the wildlife and increasing the wetlands, sending people out into the forest, into the the general wilderness to do land restoration, it will improve the wildlife. It'll improve the ability for our what is basically a natural resource to re-establish itself. And I also believe that there should be a moratorium, which would happen nationwide here at least, and would put it to everybody that is our allies in the arena, is a moratorium on fishing. We've got to get out of the ocean and let those dang creatures repopulate, because if you'd stop raping it, there would be so much, it would be ridiculous. The food supply process that is used now is the problem with the food supply process. We need to be able to increase it in a manner that nature increases it. Those fish, they turn into a lot real quick, and if we left them alone, they would be a lot more, and it'd be a lot less damaging to the environment. That ocean would be better off. We would all be better off as a human race. And so, as far as needing electricity, the power plant would resolve that, like I said, definitely in the 4 to 5 state area around it, and maybe a couple of next to it, depending on how large it gets. At first, it's going to produce some minimal amount, and then it'll produce more and more. The larger it gets, and the more that we put to it, and the more that it gets into its totality and fruition, this thing will resolve a lot of issues. You're going to be amazed. And what we want to do also is instill a sense of pride, national pride, self-pride. Let them know that they're doing their part. All these people that come to the agri-filter, the homeless, and anybody who works there as an instructor, or any of the unions that may be involved, because the trades don't necessarily need unions. They're kind of, losing their appeal to a lot of people because they've been failing so badly. And I have first-hand experience with multiple unions, and I'm no happy. I'm not too happy with them at all. So we'll have to really get down to, brass taxes and tighten the bolts on any type of contract with those guys at all when it comes to that. But that said, these people that work there will know they're moving in the right direction. that their government cares about them and they want them to be better off, no matter what color, race, height, fat, skinny, tall, whatever. I don't know if I ever said it in the past, but I'm sure most people know this. I really hate you all equally. I'm not a racist. You're all idiots. You're all dangerous. You're all great people. You're all wonderful. You're all everything. That's humanity. But I'll let you know, you people really need to be a lot better. I mean, come on. It's just over the top on a lot of stuff right now. But it's all lack of knowledge, lack of schooling, lack of instruction, and lack of thinking that there's a future. If there's no future for you, then act buck wild. Why not? Every day's your last. Man, screw it all. It's not worth it. But we have to let people know it is worth it, that there is a future, that you don't have to act like that. And there's a reason. Most people don't know they can dress up nice and go out someplace and be treated good, even though they're not rich millionaires. You just need to have a little bit of money to go out to a place that provides that kind of service, like a nice restaurant or a nice hotel. Take a break, take some relaxation. Americans used to travel to other countries because they could afford to go on vacation. And then they would see those countries and come back and say, wow, I'm so fortunate to be in America. They don't have the money to do that. Americans haven't traveled, so they don't know what other countries are like. They don't know how horrible it is or how great it is. So it's all lack of information, lack of knowledge. And even with the internet at your fingertips, most of you don't take the time to research or look into or have the curiosity to say, hey, how do the Pakistani people do this? Or how do the French do that? Or how do the Russians do this? Or how do the Eskimos live? I mean, do we even have any more? Did they kill those off? Come on, guys, really? You probably don't even know if there's even any Eskimos left. There it is. Anyways, I digress. Let's go into national pride. Of course, once the economy starts getting better and the screws of the fear-mongering propaganda is done and we start having a common goal for everybody to either go with or get aside. Like I'm saying to you all, lead, follow, or step aside. If you step aside, you'll be left behind because you're not doing either or. It's just by default. Be your own doing, but you can always jump on either way. We need leaders and we need followers. The leaders we have right now they're dumb, and the people that are following them blindly are the blind. It's the dumb leading the blind. Well, so we have a lack of national pride. We have a lack of personal pride. That'll be all resolved because people will be doing something for a common goal to unite, which ends the divisiveness because they're all going the same way, even though they may not agree like it's supposed to be. They'll be headed the same way, where they're going to better their life, where they're going to be helped to step up. Not a hand out, a hand up. This does work, a hand up, but somebody has to make the conscious decision. And so it isn't like we would militarily take all the people off the streets and push them that way. It's gotta entice them in, which isn't going to be difficult because most of them who have skills and abilities, doctorates, they're welders, they're millwrights, pile drivers, they're in the travel industry. I mean, they got a lot of administrative skills. They've done amazing things for amazing companies and then got thrown out. This will be their opportunity to get back on track. So they would be the first ones to come. So you'd get the cream of the crop, and then the rest of them would trickle in because they would wonder where the hell everybody went. They like to be a community. Believe it or not, they make their own little communities in the homeless arenas. The different, I hate to say this, there are poor homeless, there are middle-class homeless, and there are very rich and well-off homeless. It's just, you don't see it. You just categorize them all as homeless. And don't tell me about it. What do they call it? Jeez, you guys suck. House challenged or so they got some other word for homeless. God dang it, they got no home. They're homeless. If anything, they're travelers. A lot of them tend to just wander, see if they can find something better. Others are just waiting it out to see what happens. Sitting around on the corners doing dope and wasting away. It's a shame. We need to stop that. Not to mention, like I was saying earlier, that's this desalination or distilling of the seawater. That's what I should say. So we're going back to be able to provide potable drinking water. It would be distilled from the seawater, which we're going to use to actually run the turbines to create the electricity. In most cases, not in every case, but it is going to create the wetland. It's a not trickle down. That's horrible. I don't. But what it is it creates the wetland and the distilled water that comes from the seawater being superheated and pushed back out. This is going to produce an amount of seawater that has an excess amount of salt that's not really possible if you know about it. You can't never put more salt in the sea and make it over salted. It just doesn't happen. It has to be concentrated like salt lakes, or like, something like that, where it's trapped. Wetland will be a result of like I said, the water that's distilled from the seawater that's going to be used as steam to turn power turbines, etc. So there's that. So I don't know. I do know how to make that work efficiently. Most people would if they know the physics behind it. The pipes and everything would tend to get bogged down with sea life, because no matter how hot you heat up that water, there's going to be something growing in them pipes. Barnacles, or seaweeds, or some sort of underwater aquatic life that sneaks in there and loves that type of heat. Who knows? We'll see. It's not nothing we can't get over, but I do know how to resolve that too, because all it's going to do is make more jobs that people can do, because they're moving towards the common goal of restoring the environment, of bringing our country back up into an independent arena where not only this power plant would be duplicated here, but worldwide. And it would resolve a lot of world issues. I know that South Africa and the African nation needs potable drinking water. They're surrounded by oceans, and imagine if there could be the method of having an unlimited amount of distilled water, not to mention an unlimited amount of electricity. But then again, what nation wants the other nations to have that kind of, superpower? Inexhaustible electricity with a resource that nobody's thought of. And not only that, that resource is actually an invisible resource to supply of new resources. In other words, because this will all come together, actual resources will come out of it, which is the revenue from the revenue that's going to be put into the facility to have it built. It's going to generate revenue as well, not only repair this country on a level that's never been seen, but move us into the 21st century. More electricity, less fossil fuels, less dependence on fossil fuels, and new technology for other sources of power. There's a lot of other sources of power, of electricity, of power, of energy that is being created. The agri-filtered power plant will also be creating new methods of portable batteries from molten salt, from lithium, but again, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on right now. It's going to encompass all these things and even more. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I have a giant list. That this goes on to explain. So there will be a DOE, which is a Declaration of Explanation, that's going to be made en masse with more videos and actual, words typed in documentation made so that other people can read it. And each independent arena will have its own explanation and how it ties into making not only America better, but humanity better, and move us in the 21st century way. We can get off of fossil fuels, and we can use other methods that don't pollute the earth, and we can start treating each other better, and we can all start having more, because right now the Commonwealth has been destroyed almost completely. Okay, it's time for a change. It's time for Americans to stand up. Stop voting for these politicians, okay? I am of the people and for the people. And if you people will take a pen and write it in 2024, then I will be elected by the people. That is American government. Of the people, for the people, and by the people. Stop believing the propaganda. Stop with the fear-mongering. You just are all afraid because you're listening to these guys come at you with 15 different, boo, scary, now aliens, a war here, a war there, the economy, the invasion, it's all easily resolved. Yeah. When I get elected, all resolved. Or if somebody wants to work hand in hand, and I'm not going to stop running for president, there's an election coming up, take a pen and write it in. Let's see how corrupt they are. If nobody picks either or of the two parties, Democrat or Republican, and there's a write-in, does somebody count the write-in vote? If you counted it in 2020, I'm sure there was a few for me, not as many as I could, but before the pandemic, I had 6 states with representatives trying to get me on the ballot. So believe me, this isn't something I just started to do. And a lot of people know who I am, I just need more exposure. So what we're doing now is we're bringing forth what we need to do in order to make the agri-filtered power plant something that you know of. So all of this will be more defined in the next coming months. Like I said, there will be the DOE created, more videos, and written documentation behind it. I think what I'll do is is I'll open up a website just specifically with the written documentation of what it does, not how it works. Somebody better get a hold of me, because I'm getting older, and if I die, this is going to go with me. I don't think anybody else can come up with this type of a dynamic facility that's going to resolve so many of the common woes and crises that we have in our nation, and then eventually worldwide. My belief and my goal is for humanity to reach out into our solar system and take control of that. That is ours. We're all down here, not me, you guys. We're all down here. I'm down here, John. I apologize. We're all down here, and everybody's fighting over crumbs when there's a whole loaf of bread right in front of them, and it's just upsetting. You know, it's the dumbing down of humanity, just so that they can have a servant class. I don't want servants. I want kings, I want rulers, I want warriors, I want people to step up and make it to where humanity wants to continue on being in existence, and not try to shoot for that nuclear war so you can have a dystopian universe like these movies that you watched, and everybody is all going into a new future. No, that's the new ending. That's not a future. We don't want that. We're already in a dystopian enough. Let's just go ahead and say, okay, we got enough dystopia. You know, let's move forward, please, ladies and germs. So, with that, I am going to cut this off. It's probably been so long. I lost half of you maybe 20 minutes ago. But to those of us who have a little bit more intellect, who want something a little better for those that we have brought into this world, like say if you have children, or maybe if you just want everybody to live long and suffer because you hate everybody, it's best for both goals. If you want to be happy and live long and prosper, great, agriculture power plant. If you want people to live long and miserable and in a horrible life of dystopia and everything, well, they can't do it if they're dead. Agriculture power plant, because there will be a world here for them to live in a dystopian place. They can go to a lot of countries. Believe me, there's a lot of countries in dystopia. There's a lot of countries that are horrible to live in. Go ahead and check them out. And if you've got enough money to go travel, you will be able to do that. So, agriculture power plant, get rid of the homeless, wean them off drugs, get their abilities and skills back into the workforce, get them to go back to wherever other place, successfully being able to function as, you know, an individual society with their new skills, and be able to survive there and create another family and raise them, you know, get this going back on into the way that, you know, a society and a nation runs and becomes successful. Because a lot of people don't understand, the United States is 50 individual countries that make one big country, okay? There's only one France. There's only one Germany. There's only, well, there was two until they were united with the West and East. But anyway, there's only one Australia. But there's 50 Americas together as one. Each nation is an American nation. So each state has rule over itself. But the leadership in the federal government has got to assist state government where it's necessary, and then stay out of it where it's not. So, with that said, God bless you all. I'm going to get back out there, and I'm going to be campaigning. I'm out here generating my revenue. My season has come. I've gone through some schooling and education so that I can transition my service abilities into another one of my ventures, which is now a business that I've started, and I'm going to get off of the seasonal transitional business that I used to travel cross country with, because I make money in the sun and I like the sun. I don't make money in the rain and cold. Not as much, and not like I would like to. So we're venturing indoors, and you'll be seeing me in a different plane. I have many social medias, so I'll be sending links over to those social medias so that everybody can see this video. And just please know that in America, not all Americans hate Americans in America. Not all Americans are standing around not doing anything about this situation that our country has got itself in. As I close, please stop arguing and bickering. If you disagree with somebody, disagree with them and continue on. No need to fight. Just take your vote, make your vote, stand by your vote, and own it. Because all of you that voted for this, what's going on now, $5 gas, it's going back up in Oregon. It's already at $4.10 in Oregon. Expensive food, expensive electricity, just rents through the sky. This is all, it's outrageous. So let's make it better. Let's fix it. I know how. And if you follow, you'll find out how. You might like what I have to say. So I'm going to say more. I'm just getting back into the videos and into being able to focus my efforts this direction. There's been a dynamic last year, and just an update. We're in the 4th month of 2024, and I have not had to beat anybody up yet. But the year isn't over. I'm out there, guys, campaigning American for America. I'm not Democrat. I'm not Republican. I'm an independent, running my campaign with my own money, and I'm doing the best I can. And with or without you, I'm going to continue. But I would rather have you with me. Follow, subscribe, all that stuff on all my socials. Go look for me. I'm out there. Peace.